And so, yeah, Donald Trump looks, and man, I supported him this last year. I apologize for doing so. It was a bad calculation. At the time, it seemed like the right one. But he should be impeached and removed for this one, and not on some not on some ridiculous Nancy Pelosi. Of course, the Congress will never do it because they're all a bunch of corrupt hacks.
This is the one thing they support. This is
Donald Trump should be impeached and removed for this. All of his supporters should turn on him. It's the absolute betrayal of everything that he ran and campaigned on and everything that he stood for. And I will say, despite the fact that, Donald Trump supporters have been labeled like a cult following, and that certainly is true for a percentage of his supporters, he is going to lose his coalition over this. I know I don't just speak for myself when I say there are a lot of us who simply will not go along with this.
That is comedian and libertarian Dave Smith, somebody who I do like a lot, calling for the impeachment and removal of Donald Trump from office, saying also that he regrets having voted for Donald Trump in 2024. Now, I think he is entirely premature to start calling for Donald Trump's impeachment. In other venues, he has said that Trump is worse than George Bush. Now, George Bush did invade and occupy two countries for several years. Trump has not done that yet. So saying he's worse than Bush, I think, is driven by emotions. He feels very strongly about this conflict with Iran. But those emotions and those feelings, in my opinion, are driving him to say things that are simply inaccurate and just not true. And when it comes to Donald Trump, something I've mentioned in previous videos, you have to be very careful when you react to him, because day to day, week to week, what he says might change. And so if you respond immediately to everything he says and does, you're kind of like that cat chasing the laser pen against the wall. You're just jumping around like a jackass, making a fool of yourself. So for Trump, I like to sit back and let things play out a little before I jump in with an opinion. That is the prudent thing to do with the Trump administration. Now, what do I think about this conflict generally? Well, if you see in my previous videos, you know that I'm not a fan of Benjamin Netanyahu. I'm not a fan of our relationship with Israel. And I'm generally not a fan of war with Iran. But that being said, I want to sort of analyze things without being emotional and just sort of see where things are at right now. Now, one thing that libertarians do is they compare everything to the Iraq War as their reasoning not to support something or be against it. And if it were like the Iraq War, they would be right. But in this case, I do not think that Iran is like Iraq. Iraq, we invaded, we put boots on the ground, and we stayed there for years and years and years. And most of the casualties didn't come from fighting the Iraqi military. It was from things like IEDs, roadside bombs, insurgency. So Iran, there is nothing to indicate we would put boots on the ground there. I could be wrong, but right now I don't quite see that. Now, on the other hand, we have the neocons who like to compare everything to World War II. Vladimir Putin is Hitler. The Iranian regime, they are, as Mark Levin likes to call them, Islamo-Nazis. And if you're against this conflict, you're an appeaser, you're Neville Chamberlain, and you're letting evil roam around the earth. So you have to stand up and fight them. Of course, Iran is not the Third Reich. I don't like their government and their regime there. But to say that they're like Hitler is simply an exaggeration and a way that neocons try to bully people into taking their pro-war stance. So Iran is not the Iraq War. Iran is not the Nazi regime in World War II. Now, so far in this conflict, we've seen Israel flying over Iran, hitting targets. We've seen Iran fire back. But one thing I've noticed so far, and that's a key here, so far, is that Israel seems to have a pretty free reign in flying in Iranian airspace. And I thought there would be more air defense from Iran. They've been getting technology from Russia. Yet we don't quite see that. And generally, the people who have been, I wouldn't say pro-Russia, but sympathetic to Russia, in the past have, in my opinion, exaggerated their capabilities. For example, 2022, 2023, many people were saying that once this Ukrainian city collapses and Russia takes it, that the entire front will collapse and Russia will just march on through. Well, that never happened. Russia is still fighting over 3 years now, and they still haven't captured all the territories of those 4 oblasts. So I think the people who are saying that Iran is strong and will devastate Israel, they're the same people who are saying that Russia was going to steamroll Ukraine. It didn't happen. So I do feel, so far, that the Iranian capabilities are a bit exaggerated. Now, some people are saying that they're using their old missiles. They're not trying to escalate too much right now, and that's what's happening. And maybe they're right. Maybe they have all these weapons waiting that can absolutely level Israel. But so far, we don't see that. So, what does that mean? Does that mean that this will be an easy thing if we fight Iran? No, it's not. Doesn't mean that at all. Are we going to have boots on the ground? Probably not. What I do see is something like what's going on with Ukraine right now, where we bomb them for a while, and then things sort of cool off, and then we bomb them again, and we just sort of have this ongoing conflict that never comes to an end, just like we have with Ukraine and Russia. That's kind of the way it looks right now, because I don't think Trump will escalate as far as putting boots on the ground to actually remove the Iranian regime. I don't see the Iranian people removing their regime. And I do think Iran, I don't think they are being backed by China and Russia. So unfortunately, it does look like this could be a drawn-out conflict, but not as bad as Iraq, because we're not going to have troops on the ground there. However, you have asymmetrical warfare. You have bases all around the Middle East that could be struck. So I'm not saying there won't be casualties, but not on the level of the Iraq War. Again, I'm not happy with it. I don't support it, but I try to not get too excited and sort of freak out when it comes to making an analysis of what's happening. And my libertarian friends, I do like them. I like some of their positions, but the reason I'm not a libertarian is that, in my opinion, they're not very pragmatic. They're unrealistic. They see the world in black and white, and we know with politics, everything's gray. It's about compromise. It's about trade-off. So right now, they're losing their mind, saying that Trump is the new George Bush, but premature, not quite. When it comes to him, we just have to let things play out. And in this situation, sort of just hope, because that's all we really can do. Hope that things go better than we think they're going to go. But we don't know. What will Iran do? How committed are they to a long war? Will they negotiate at this point after being bombed and having members of their leadership killed? I simply don't know. But I do know that it's too early to say the sky is falling and that everything is going to turn to shit. It might, but we're not quite there yet. So just keep calm and let things play out. That is it for now. If you are new to my channel, like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.